Okay, Miriam, which one am I doing? Okay, so 25, this will be good for first period because they didn't get to see the subtraction. Now, as I do this one, I'll mention how you would have done the other one. This is 25. Okay, 25. All right. So you're going to begin with a segment and a compass. All right, you are going to you're going to open your compass however wide you want to open it. You're going to put it on this angle, and you're going to draw an arc. Hold on. Okay, so without changing the opening, we're going to go to this vertex, and we're going to make the same arc. Without changing the opening, we're going to go down here because that is our new vertex, and we're going to make we're going to do a semicircle. Okay, we're going to do a semicircle. Now, on segments, you kept adding to the segment as you went along. When you're dealing in angles, you're going to keep adding or subtracting from this arc. All the work is going to be on this arc. You with me? All right. So now you're going to take your compass, and you're going to put your compass point on, because we want two TQRs, right? So this is my TQR. You're going to put your compass point on this point of intersection, and we're going to measure the opening. We're going to put our pencil point on this point of intersection. So you're going to open your compass so that it is that wide. So do you see where your compass point is? The only hot point that we have right now, this is a hot point because that's where the arc intersected the segment. And the hot points are usually where our compass is going to go. So I'm going to put my compass point here, and on this arc, I'm going to mark off. That is one TQR, and to add, I put my compass point here, and I'm going to do another TQR. Are you with me? I just added this angle to itself. So if you needed help on 24, that's like 24. Now I'm doing this dotted line because that is not my answer. This is 2 TQRs. What random thing? Oh, I could. Yes. No, you do not have to do the dotted line at all. Right. Yes. Pardon? Hold on. I got to make this bigger so I can see it. I got to go to the right period. I'm on period 1. All right. Hale, would you get out a sheet of paper? You're going to keep track of our names today. You, in essence, have had your name called twice, which means you only need your name one more time for homework pass. Everybody else needs 3. All right. No, we don't. No, we don't go from yesterday. We start all over on a new day. Take it or leave it, Brian. All right. Here we go. So you're gonna write down people's names. So you're gonna write down your name, and somehow let you make a notation that you were called twice. And I just called Alexandra, so now you're gonna write down her name. So Alexandra, how do I measure this angle up here? Okay, and then what? Put my pencil point on that point, correct? All right, so now that I've got that angle opening, where am I going to put my compass point? Samantha? Where am I going to put this compass point now? On the last arc we did. Now, if I were to do this, I am adding. So what I want to do is subtract. So I have to do my arc inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm removing this. So my answer, my angle, that is TQR minus SOP is this angle, and I will highlight it. Yes. No, because they're going to have different arcs, but if your arc's bigger, then that's going to be bigger. It's going to end up to be the same. All right, next question. Yes. We added TQR to itself. So on 24, all right. So we've got a segment. This is K, this is H, this is L. Nowhere in the directions, oh yes it does. What the directions say what, Madison? Okay, it says H is the midpoint of KL, meaning this is congruent to this. Did I draw my picture to scale? Will I draw my picture to scale? No. Then I'm going to put 3x plus 8 over its segment, which is HK, and HL is going to be 6x minus 22. So based on, this is number 4, based on our diagram and our markings, Madison, what's going to happen? What's your equation?
It's going to be 3x plus 8. Equals 6x minus 22.
Okay. And even though they don't look equal, we know they are equal. From here, you will subtract 3x. Then you will add 22 to both sides. So you're going to get x to be 10. Now that they want to know what is the length from K all the way over to L. I expect to still see work. So we want not H, we want KL. So how am I going to get, now that I have X, how am I going to get the length from K to L? Miriam? So we're going to add KH to HL. So we're going to say KH is going to be 3 times 10 plus 8, which is 38. Then we're going to find HL, which is going to be 6 times 10 minus 22, which just so happens to equal 38. And if this doesn't happen, you've messed up, right? Because what does this mean?
That they're equal.
That's right. So this is going to be 38 plus 38, which is 76. Next question.
I got a lot. All right.
You raise your hand with your mouth shut.
Oh my gosh.
So we're going to go with Stephanie. Next time you can raise your hand with your mouth shut, you're first. Yes, ma'am. Number 1. Now, number 1 is different than this in fact that I did not give you a midpoint. We've got A, we've got B, and we've got C. In number 1, they told us that AB is 6x minus 5, BC is 2x plus 13, and they told us that AC was 10x minus 24. No mention at all of midpoint, so you can't assume midpoint. So, Stephanie, what's your equation going to be? All right, and now on this side, we're going to add the 2 to the 6, and negative 5 plus 13 is a positive 8. All right, I'm going to subtract 8x because I don't like negatives, so I'm not going to subtract the 10. So that's going to be 2x minus 24. Then we're going to add 24, and we're going to come up with 32. And then when you divide, you've got 16. Now, they have asked us for the length of BC. So to find the length of BC, what are we going to have to do, Alexandra? BC. Here's B, here's C. I labeled my picture to help me. And X is? So it's 2 times 16 plus 13. So she used 2x plus 13 because that is the length of BC. So this is going to be 32 plus 13, which is 46? 5.
What? 35. 45? It's 45.
3 plus 1 is 4. 2 plus 3 is 5. All right, Hale?
You do 28.
I would love to do 20. Okay, well, wait a minute. My question to you before I do 28, we've done now 1, we've done 4. Are there any questions on 6, 11 through 23? Trevor.
I have 6 through 10. And then
Okay, so in other words, you want 6.
I'm sure.
Good. Because we're not going to do 7, 8, 9, or 10 until all other questions are exhausted. On 6, we now have an angle. In the directions, it does not tell us that we have an angle bisector at all. So it says that AFB, which is this top angle, is 6x plus 7. Then they told us that BFC is 4x minus 5. And they told us that AFC, this whole thing, is 52. Based on my diagram and the information we were given, what equation will we write, Aaron? This is number 6. Six x plus 7 plus 4x minus 5. What's this called? What tells us we can do this? Angle addition. That might be your bonus to justify these. Okay, angle addition. That is correct. They did not tell us this bisected, so we do not know that these are equal. So we have 52 is equal to 10x plus 2. When you subtract 2, when you divide by 10, you're going to get x to be 5. Now, they asked you for the measure of angle AFB. And AFB is that angle right there. So how do I take the value of x and find the measure of AFB? Maria?
6.
This is going to be 6 times 5 plus 7, which is 37. All right, so now 11 through 23. Any questions on 11, Nate? 11 through 23 first.
Hey, I'll help you with that. I'll help you.
11 through 23.
I'll help you with that. I just did that. I just needed to draw a picture.
Quiet.
Oh, 21.
21. So now we're going to do a segment. We've got a segment that is short. We've got a segment that is longer. This segment is called OP. This segment is called, what? Oh, 23. Okay. So 23, we're going to do a perpendicular bisector. Now, on 23, there are no points on the segment and there are no points above the segment. So when you do a perpendicular bisector, it's all about the endpoints. And you've got to open your compass
More than halfway.
more than halfway.
Come on.
So now we're going to do an arc. And you've got to make sure that you go beyond what you would have considered to be the midpoint. All right, so then we're going to flip it, and we're going to go to this endpoint. I call this the fish. And we want to intersect the arc we just drew, and you must do it 2 times. So your answer then looks like this and that, and you should mark it for perpendicular, and it's a bisector. I'm going to grade the markings on your constructions.
You don't have to have a fish, right? You could have just gone like this.
You could have done this little group, this little arc up here, and those 2 little intersections down there.
You don't have to have the arcs up there, do you?
Yes. What are you going to draw it with if you don't have double arcs? You have to have double points of intersection. All right. Last call for anything from 11 through 22 now. Wendy? Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Okay, because there's a segment bar on top, that's K and that's M. And then we're going to put a point H, and then you're going to mark it. There should not be arrows beyond. Now, I guess if you, yeah, I want to see segment, not a line. Other questions? Last call for 11, 13 through 22. Going once. Stephanie. 16. All right. Good question. We want to find the measure of angle CED. This is the way it appears on your test. CED just happens to be starting here and going up. So on your protractor, you've got 180 and you've got 0. Since we're starting here, you look at the 0 or the inside. And that goes up to 70 degrees. Stephanie. All right, any others of the ones that we've not done?
Me.
You're not asking one for what we've not done. You want to go for what we have done. Any others for what we have not done? Trevor.
Oh my God.
17?
Yeah.
That's great, because guess what?
That's
That's not in what we have done. Okay, so this is 17. And this has to do with that perpendicular bisector and points on a perpendicular bisector. It says GI is the perpendicular bisector of FH. So the first thing you want to do is you want to mark your diagram. So this is F, this is H, this is G, this is I. No. All right, so there was a theorem that stated, it's telling you that Fn, wait a minute, 17, they're telling you that Fn, this is n by the way, Fn is x plus 6, and they're telling you that Fh is 4x minus 12. Is this segment equal to the big segment?
No.
No. So what are you going to do? Hold on, don't answer that. So if you didn't mark your diagram, it might have been an issue. So Eric, if this is x plus 6 because of these markings, what must that be? What do these markings mean? Same. So if this is x plus 6, what must that be?
X plus 6.
I asked Eric.
My bad.
I'm sorry, Eric. X plus 6. Yes. They will not give you 2 different ones and this if it's equal.
Yeah, but if they didn't give them all, just said like x plus 6 and 4
No, because it will get you nowhere. Okay? It'll get you 0 equals 0. All right. So now the way this is drawn, Ethan, what's your equation? Okay, so now you're going to distribute, so you get 2x plus 12 equals 4x minus 12. So if you move your 2x by subtracting it, you have 12 equals 2x. Now if you add this 12, you're going to have 2x equals 24, or x equals 12. And what did I ask for? I asked for NH. So I need NH. So once I get 12, how I'm going to find NH? Bryce?
Plus 12 x.
Correct. So 12 plus 6 is 18. Other questions? All questions are fair game. Tara? Uh-huh. Yes. Which one? 3. Okay. So now make sure you have graph paper tomorrow. Okay? Make sure you have graph paper. Wednesday. After school. I said. What did I say you needed tomorrow? Graph paper. You need compass. You need straight edge, and unfortunately, I need really teeny tiny graph paper for this problem. All right, so we're going to plot these points on our coordinate plane. One of the points we've been given is negative 12 up 8, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we've been given 5, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18 down 2. I know, but it doesn't work on my medium. So you want to make sure that you label this. This is M, and it is negative 12, 8. This is N, and this is 18, negative 2. So now I'm going to connect my two dots because you want to be able to plot your point at the end, and if it's not on there, then you're going to have to figure out where you went wrong. All right, so we want to take this down to the x-axis because I want to look at a number line. I don't want to look at a slanted line. So when you take this down to the x-axis, that or that number, that coordinate right here is negative 12. This coordinate over here is positive 18. So all our eyes are going to focus on is this number line. So now this makes this problem just like number 2. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to work with the x's, and what do I need to find? First, Mikey? The length. And we do that by value of
12, negative 12, minus 18.
right. So that's going to be absolute value of negative 30, which is 30. All right, so first we find the length of the segment. Yes. Because if you take negative 12 and you add 18, you're telling me this segment is 6 units long. It takes me 12 units just to get to 0, and then an additional 18. So whenever you find length on a number line, it's always subtraction. I can guarantee you have this is a standalone problem, by the way, on your test, finding the length of a segment. That means you have one problem where I literally ask you what's the distance between 2 points. No, I want to see the work. Yes. All right, so after we get the length of the segment, what are we going to do? Aaron? It says that we want W that's 3/5 this length. Correct. 30 over 1 times 3 over 5. 5 divides 30 6 times 3 is 18. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that we stay on 18. That means that 3/5 of the length is 18. All right, next important piece of information for your test tomorrow. You have one of each of 2 and 3. You've got one of each, and I've worded them similarly. So on 3, it's in your face. 3 literally says what we want 3 1/5 the length of MN. It literally says from N. There is no question which vertex you are working with. We're working with N. Okay? So I'm starting at 18. I have to find a point that's 18 units somewhere between here, and in order to, am I going to do to the right or am I going to move to the left? So in order to move to the left, we're working with 18. What do we have to, so I'm going to take this 18, and what am I going to do with it? I'm going to what? Go left? So that means we're going to subtract that 18. And what are you going to get? 0. So we're looking for W, and the X value is going to be 0. Ethan? Mm-hmm. No, not the length of this segment. We're finding the length here. Okay, once I get into the x-axis, that's all I see. Now we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to do it in the y direction. So that y goes to that area or that spot on the y-axis. So this is going to be 8 units up, and this is -2. So now our eyes are going to be focusing right here. And we're going to start this whole process over for those two numbers. So as I start this process over, what's the first thing I'm going to do for my y's? Mackenzie? Absolute value of, which is 10. All right, from here, we are still working on the same fraction. Nate? So now what do I do? This whole unit is 10 units. 3/5 times 10/1, which is 6. Now, it's all about n. So that means I'm working at -2. I have to fall between -2 and 8, and I have to move 6 units. Am I going to be moving up, or am I going to be moving down, Maria? I'm going to be moving up. So I'm going to say -2 plus or minus. Up means plus. So that means we're going to end up with, am I adding 8 or am I adding 6? I'm adding 6. So -2 plus 6 is 4. So 0, 4 should be my point W. So if I go over none and up 1, 2, 3, 4, is it on my segment? Then that means I did it right. We still have 5 minutes. Stephanie? And not M? Because it's all about N. And -2 is N. 8 would have been M. It's all about from N. Okay? All about from N. Now, I could have said WN instead of from N. And W is what I'm looking for. That's the end point. It's not M. That's another way. That's the way it was worded in 2, that you would know which endpoint to use. Okay, other questions? Anything's fair game? Yes, Hale. 20? 28. On 28, we have another construction, and it's a parallel. So when we do a parallel, we're going to start with a segment, and we'll start with a solid segment, sort of. And then we're going to have a point up here. What's the first thing I do on this kind of construction? Let me go see if... All right. Brian, what's the first thing I do for this parallel? No, I don't need a compass yet. I'm not ready. This point and that line, what do I need to do? Draw a... Right. We need an angle before we get our compass. So, Brian, once we get our compass, what are we going to do?
You are going to make
So we're going to put our compass point, first of all, on this vertex. And what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this angle up here. So where do I move my compass point? Up to right there. Right? And I want to make sure that I intersect this arc. So this is now the hot spot. This is where we're going to, that's going to be important in a minute. So now what we want to do is we want to measure the angle's opening. So I'm going to move my compass down, put the compass point here, and I'm going to close my compass, hope that the pencil point falls on that point. All right, once I do that, where am I going to move my compass point? Stephanie? That hot spot, right? We're going to make an arc. All right, once we make that arc, how do we finish our construction? That would be Madison.
You don't take like a straight edge
Uh-huh.
onto the point right there. Yeah, that one you cut it off. Put it right there and you cut the line.
Right. And we're going to do that. And there we go. Other questions? Oh, now we got to mark it. Yes, that's what they asked for. So to mark it, remember we put these arrows. You don't want to lose like 2 points because you forgot your markings. Okay, you want to study the markings. Any other questions? That shows parallel. See, the arrows are in the middle of the segments instead of the ends. That's how we show parallel. Any others? All right, so almost, let's see. All the constructions are online now between the two video notes. And just about the entire front page, except for 11 through 14, is also online on video notes. So if you did this review, I think you should study with it. You want to study with it? If you want to study with it, I'll collect it tomorrow. Again, A16 is due on Thursday. Is what? A16? I don't know. You have to look at the sheet. No, yours is due. Nice try though.